Yeah, so yesterday, the Biden administration decided that they were going to make an announcement that the health secretary, Rachel Levine, who is a man who believes that he is a woman, the previous health secretary of Pennsylvania, then joined the Biden administration to make a political statement. I mean, that was the only reason. They hired him because he believes that he's a woman, he's a transgender. And so they said, "Oh, this will look great on the resume. People will love this. The radical progressives, they'll love us for putting this transgender person on our administration." So they hired him despite having not a lot of qualifications, which we'll talk about later. But yesterday, they released a statement saying that Rachel Levine has now been promoted to the first ever female 4-star admiral in the public health corps. So the statement said, quote, "Admiral Levine now serves as the highest ranking official in the USPHS Commission Corps and its first ever female 4-star admiral." That sounds so great. So great. If you had no idea who Rachel Levine is, then I'm sure you're like, "Oh, that's awesome. Great news."
Now that Rachel isn't really a Rachel.
The problem is that Rachel is not a Rachel. Rachel is a man. And to me, like you said, it's really an attack on women because I think having a 4-star admiral is great.
Yeah.
But the problem is that now that you have destroyed the idea of it because you have a man pretending to be a woman and he is the first female admiral, then it means nothing anymore. So to me, I think that's an attack on women. I am not a woman. Luckily, we have a woman here on the show. So, Tara, I want to hear what you think. Is this offensive to you as a woman?
Well, I think it's just, as a woman, it's just like, are you kidding me? It's like, I already am a birth-giving person, apparently, and all of these other, weird, I'll just even call it derogatory names. And so at the end of the day, I just kind of laugh a little bit because you're going to give someone like Rachel this title and be like, "Oh my gosh, you're the first person, shattering glass ceilings and what have you." But it's like, if we go with the leftist narrative of like the female struggle and whatever, and there are certain female struggles and issues that go on in life, there are. But to just go, "Oh, this guy who probably lived at least 2/3 of his life as a man has had the same accomplishment as a biological woman from start to finish," I think it's just sad. And I don't really care if they would have had first transgender 4-star admiral. I'd be like, "Okay, whatever, good for you. I don't really care." Right. But it's time and time again with trans athletes and these trans individuals who are coming into women's spaces, using a leftist term, women's spaces, and saying, "Hey, I identify as this now, and I'm going to be the best at it, and I'm going to dominate at it, and I'm going to take away your world title." And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You never, ever see trans men going into men's cycling, men's spaces, men's weightlifting,
because
and taking their records.
If they did that.
They would get destroyed. And so it's really only women who are suffering the consequences of this over and over again. And I guess we could even say, I said this today at our meeting, I'm like, if you two just put on wigs and for the next 20 minutes, we're like, "Hey, we identify as female. Oh my gosh, another glass ceiling has been shattered by the Western Journal, a panel of all 3 women talking on women's issues." Like, it's just ridiculous. And I think it just shows the left's true view of women, which is that women are a stereotype and that you can just pretend to be a woman and that it's just this little play game and charade time and time again.
Yeah, I've got a major problem with this. I am under the impression, the belief that men and women are created differently and both have unique skills that are useful and valuable and individual traits that make us our own. And so when you appoint someone who is not a woman to a position like this, you're actually taking away that achievement from a woman. And that's super problematic to me. And we see this time and time again. We saw earlier this year, there was I think it was an MMA fighter who was awarded the bravest athlete of the year. It was a man who believes he's a woman who basically knocked the brains out of another woman in a fight.
Yeah.
And then was called the bravest athlete. I don't think there's anything brave about that. And then we just saw in Loudoun County, Virginia, there was a case where a father says that his daughter was raped in a school bathroom by a transgender student. That's all alleged, by the way. I'm not claiming anything happened. you allegedly do it. That's all problematic. And this is the agenda that the left pushes. And it takes away from women, and it's harmful to children, and it's harmful to the culture. And it's anti-science. Like, that's what drives me crazy. The left claims to be the party of science time and time again. This is not science. There are biological differences between the two sexes. And yeah, it's just stuff like this is super problematic. It drives me crazy, but it is classic Biden admin.
Yeah, it's not science, and it's not particularly helpful to public health either. She's
No.
supposed to be in a health position.
No.
If this was some, other position in the Biden administration, I would still have a problem with the wording of it being the first female, but I have an extra problem with it in the fact that she's supposed to be the health secretary.
Yeah.
And she is advocating something that is, in my opinion, very detrimental to public health.
Yeah.
Because we don't need a bunch of people, kids especially, thinking that they should just change their gender whenever they feel like it. That's not a thing that can happen. And somebody like this will make that more mainstream in the public health sector, which I think is bad for us as a country. But in addition to those concerns, I just want to talk about a little bit her lack of qualifications or his lack of qualifications, whatever you want to say, to actually be the health secretary just from a policy standpoint. So before Rachel Levine became the health secretary in the Biden administration, he was the Pennsylvania health secretary during the beginning of COVID. And this is an article I'm going to quote from Newsweek in May of 2020. And it says, quote, Pennsylvania's health secretary, Dr. Rachel Levine, confirmed on Tuesday that she recently moved her 95-year-old mother out of a personal care home. Outbreaks in Pennsylvania long-term care facilities make up nearly 70% of the state's coronavirus-related deaths. Now, this was in May of 2020, so it's probably changed. But at that point, when she made that decision, 70% of the deaths were coming from nursing homes. She had policies keeping people in nursing homes, but at the same time, he or she, however you want to say it, decided that he was going to move his grandmother or his mother out of this facility, which suggests that he knew the risks in this facility, and so he wants to protect his own family, and yet at the same time, he's going to have policies in place that prohibit other people from leaving those facilities.
It's the Andrew Cuomo grift.
It's the Andrew Cuomo grift.
He did the same thing. Yeah, I don't know how you could put someone in such a powerful, important position who has that track record of failure. I mean,
and that was before he was named to the Biden administration.
Yes, before Biden won the election. I mean,
So
how could it's just common sense. Like I don't know anything about disease, or I have no expertise in the medical field, but I can tell you that it's probably not a good idea to put COVID positive patients in nursing homes, in long-term care facilities when they have the highest risk of COVID. I mean, we knew that older people would be, the COVID would be more detrimental to them at the beginning of the pandemic. So yeah, I think that just shows you he is not qualified for this position. It's quite disturbing that someone with that track record is in the highest level of government. I don't like it.